Hey there, I bet you didn't know there's some important physics and math involved with concealed carry. I know that's not what you signed up for, but understanding just a few basic concepts may help keep you alive and hopefully out of prison. As you probably know by now, you only shoot to stop the threat, and only if and when you have developed bare fear of imminent great bodily injury or death to yourself or another. So let's say you do have bare fear of imminent great bodily injury or death to yourself or another, and you fire a shot at an attacker. Assuming your bullet hits the attacker, just how does that projectile stop the threat? Any ideas? I'll wait. Blood loss, you say? Shock? Organ damage? Pain? A big old hole? Well, sure, but no. None of those answers are correct. The real answer, the physics answer, is a bullet stops an attacker by transferring its energy into the attacker. All those other things happen as a result of this transfer of kinetic energy. So how much kinetic energy are we talking about here? Well, the obvious answer is the energy of the projectile depends largely upon the firearm and the caliber of ammo you're using. And you should absolutely know how much energy your firearm and cartridges produce if you're going to carry concealed in public. The gunpowder in each cartridge stores a certain quantity of potential energy, which gets converted to heat and pressure, sound, etc., and finally kinetic energy. That's the energy contained in the motion of the projectile, which is directed by the barrel of the firearm. You may have heard or even seen on boxes of ammo that the energy of the projectile as it emerges from the muzzle is described in foot-pounds. If you're into science, that same energy can be described in joules, but let's stick with foot-pounds for now. Just what exactly is a foot-pound? Uh-oh, here comes the math. You won't be expected to memorize this, but just have a familiarity with what it all means. So here's the basic formula. The energy of a projectile is equal to 1/2 its mass times the square of its velocity. It's that simple. Let's say your favorite attack stopping ammo is 9mm. You can see this box of 9mm ammo shows a velocity of 1190 feet per second at the muzzle. By the way, that's just a little faster than the speed of sound depending on atmospheric conditions. Okay, what's the mass of the 9mm projectile? Well, usually you can see the weight of the bullet marked on boxes of ammo expressed in units of grains. On this box of ammo, the bullet weighs 115 grains. Grains? Really? So a grain is 1/7,000th of a pound. In other words, if your bullet weighed 7,000 grains, it would weigh 1 pound. I guess someone figured grains would be a great way to measure bullet weight. Aha, you say, but doesn't that equation call for mass, not weight? Wow, you people are on it. Exactly. A grain is a unit of weight, and we want mass. Weight is a force, which is mass times acceleration. If you divide out the acceleration, you get mass. What's the acceleration we're talking about here? Gravity. So if you divide grains by gravity, you get slugs. Yep, the slug is the English unit version of mass. Don't worry, it'll all come back around to pounds. Okay, so here's our new equation. The energy of this 9mm bullet, as per the markings on the box, equals 1/2, or 0.5, times the grains, which here is 115, pretty typical for 9mm, divided by 7,000 to convert grains to pounds, then divide all that by gravity, which is 32.17 feet per second, and that'll give you a really, really small number. Now take that small number and multiply it by the square of the velocity shown on the box, so 1190 feet per second times 1190 feet per second, and you'll end up with a number, 361.59, which has the units of pounds times feet, or foot-pounds. Or if you like, that's about 437 joules. Here they've rounded up to 362 foot-pounds. Got it? Great. Okay, so what does 362 foot-pounds have to do with keeping you alive and out of prison? Well, remember we talked about how a projectile stops a threat? The energy of that projectile, or 362 foot-pounds in our example, is transferred into the attacker. Just how much energy does it take to stop an attacker? Well, really not very much, apparently. Lots of people die every year from .22 caliber bullets at just 120 foot-pounds. That's only about 1/3 of the energy from a 9mm. So now you might be asking, okay then, how much energy is too much? Good question. As a CCW permittee, you want just enough energy to stop the threat and not 1 foot-pound more. Why? Well, let's say your projectile carries more energy than is needed, enough energy to over-penetrate the attacker. In other words, after striking the attacker, the bullet just keeps right on going. Has that bullet expended all of its energy in the attacker? No, of course not. It kept on going. So all that remaining energy was wasted on the attacker, but that extra energy is now available to hurt, kill, or destroy someone or something. So say your overpowered bullet passes through the attacker and then hits a little kid playing basketball. Is that your fault? Are you responsible? 100% yes, it's on you. And now you are on your way to prison for killing a little kid. It turns out there's a region of bullet energies that seems to provide adequate stopping power for most situations while not having so much energy that the projectile is likely to overpenetrate the attacker. Those rounds are 38 special, 9mm, and 45 caliber. Lower energy rounds like 22, 25 ACP, or 380 may work, but they may not be enough to stop a threat. On the other hand, higher energy rounds like 40 caliber, 357 Magnum, 10mm, or 44 mag have a much greater probability of over-penetrating the attacker, exposing you to astronomically higher liability, while at the same time not really adding any tactical benefits. Any bullet can pass through an attacker. Even a pellet gun can do that if you hit somebody in the wrong spot, or more likely, completely miss your target. This is why you aim for center mass. It's not because center mass is more deadly, it's because hitting an attacker's center mass is more likely to absorb all of the energy from the projectile and thus stop the threat. It would be nearly impossible for most people to stop the threat by aiming for the hand or foot. Remember, if your bullet passes through or misses an attacker, you will be held criminally and civilly liable for anyone or anything you hurt, kill, or damage. That's why you want the absolute minimum projectile energy that can stop the threat. So now you can see why this one simple equation can play such an important role in your decision making as a CCW permittee. Don't expect your issuing agency to know much about this. They might just approve your 10mm pocket cannon. Just know that higher power or greater cartridge energy does not equate to more effective self-protection. You and you alone have the responsibility to understand and manage the energy released by your firearm. Your life and the lives of others depend on it.